All right, y'all live.
Okay, we'll do live.
Go live. It's time now for all things Gators. Dan Hicken and Frangie. What's up, Hick?
Doing great, Frank. Thank you, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com for all your orthopedic needs, Frangie. Gator basketball. Good week. Good things.
Yeah, really good. I was at the game, and I think I told you this last year. I went last year to the Exact Tech Arena when they played Georgia. They went again this year. Number one, what a great arena. And shame on me. By the way, I was in the first graduating class in the O-Dome. That's how old I am, Hick.
Right.
But once I started doing Jaguar games, I don't get to Gainesville very often. I had not been in until last year since they renovated it. It looks like a little NBA arena. It's gorgeous. So I'm reiterating that, even though I saw it last year. They beat Georgia by 30.
Yeah.
They've beaten Tennessee by 30.
Yeah.
Texas by 24. That arena is as charged up. It's as electric as it's ever been. I give Todd Golden credit for that. I give the players credit for that. I give those rowdy reptiles credit. It was electric on Saturday. It was my first chance to see it in a while. Man, oh man, that's a great place to play basketball.
Yeah, it really is. And Florida's played very well there, obviously. Listen, nothing's changed with how I feel about Florida. If I criticize that basketball team at all, it's just a nitpick. It really is. I mean, I love watching them play. They have great chemistry, it seems to me. The guard play is terrific. I think Aberdeen as the fourth guard he'd start for a lot of teams in this country, man. That's for sure. So Condon and Houck, the way they play inside, it's just really, really good stuff. I guess the interesting thing with Florida basketball is what is going to transpire with Micah Handlogten going forward. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? It was a very, Todd Golden called it a fluid situation. It's just it's an interesting deal where you get the feeling, I guess, from what I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong here, that he can play if he wants to play, but does he want to burn his red shirt and all that?
Yeah, I'll go through, tell you everything I've heard and kind of what I think, just not only just heard, just Number one, it was a brutal injury, man. It was a brutal. The leg was a nasty injury. They said let's redshirt for the year. You brought in Biggs, you brought in Chinyelu, you brought in Alexis. You already had obviously Condon and Houck. You don't need him. Let's sit out. That was the plan. I think that was the plan all along. I think he worked to recover and is starting to recover a little more quickly than everybody expected. So much so that he can practice full go, and he's looked pretty good in practice. So I think so now you have the conversation. The rotation, this is me talking, not anything I've heard.
Right.
Alexis, good player, but he might not be quite where the other three are. And Micah is where the other three are.
Right.
And it might be a really special season for you. I mean, this might be a Final Four national championship type season. So do you want to leave a guy on the bench who could play, who might be a little ahead of where Sam is, if he's ready, and you might have the season of all seasons? So because of that, you put it in Micah's court and say, Micah, do you want to try this? And I think he got excited about it. And then I'm just telling you what I read. This isn't inside.
Yeah.
Just that he got excited about it. But then he had some trepidation the closer it got to game day. I think at some point Thursday or Friday, he was going to play against Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think he had second thoughts. So now, are the second thoughts, A, he's fearful of re-injuring it? Maybe. Are the second thoughts he doesn't feel like he's in game condition? Maybe. I think both of those things are in play. I don't think it's saving the redshirt year. Nobody cares about redshirt years anymore. You can play, you can find an extra year. You know how it works, Dan. Redshirts don't really matter much anymore, I don't think. So I don't think it's about the redshirt year as much as it is, am I healthy enough to do this? Am I conditioned enough to do this? That's my read on it.
Yeah.
And he's got to make that decision. I think my guess is the closer he gets to it, the more he sees those guys battling, the more excited he gets about putting that uniform on, he might give it a go. But in my opinion, it's not about the redshirt year. It's about the injury. Are you ready? And Todd Golden's been I'll tell you one thing about Golden. He tells the truth, man. He's been very transparent about this. He said, look, this is up to Micah, but we understand it was an emotional injury. We're not going to push him. If he wants to give it a go, we'd love to have him. We think it looks like he's ready, but that's got to be his call, and we support him no matter what he decides. This isn't one of those coaches going, well, we'd love to play him, but if he doesn't want to, that's up to him. It's not that. He's really supporting Micah, Dan. He's really saying, listen, we got you here, bro. If you want to give it a go, we're ready. if you want to hold on because of the severity of the injury, we get that too. I think he's supporting him 100% of the way, and I think it's up to Micah.
I think the next 4 games are as tough a stretch as you're going to have. I kind of look at it. I got this schedule in my head broken down into the next 4. Really tough, by the way. Starts with Tennessee. You got Vandy, who's had a great year, big upsets at home, but you got them at home. But then you're at Auburn, at Mississippi State. Then you have another group of 4 where they're not nearly as tough. And then you finish with 3 really hard ranked teams. So that's what you got going forward with this Gator basketball team. Boy, the SEC's tough. And when I say they're not that tough, you're still playing good basketball teams, right? The next time Florida plays Georgia, they're going to give them a heck of a battle. You know that up in Athens. So it's a lot of fun to watch this team play, and it's appointment television for Gator fans, man.
You hit it, but you broke the schedule down perfectly. They're 5-2 in the league, 18-2 overall, 5-2 in the league. These next 4 games at Tennessee, home against Vandy, at Auburn, at Mississippi State, it's the toughest stretch of the year for them. Now, it looked like that early stretch was going to be the toughest. It wasn't.
Right.
This is the toughest stretch. If you get out of this thing 2-2,
right,
that's a win, man. Because then you're 7-4. You could look up and be 11-4 or 10-5. And so I've said all along, get to 10 wins. Don't get too caught up in did you get to 12 or 13. Get to 10 wins in the league. You're already at 5. You get to 10, you're in good shape. You're in the tournament if you're at 9, but I mean, you get to 10, you're in good shape. Then, so the 2-2 in this next stretch, I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard 2-2.
Yeah.
But I think they'll beat Vanderbilt at home. Vanderbilt's had a good year. But I told you, I was just in that place, man. That place gets rocking. Good luck. Good luck beating them. I know Missouri beat them there by a point, but that was a wake-up call. But good luck in that place. So the key is, can you get one of the 3 at Tennessee, at Auburn, at Mississippi State? Dan, I think they can. I think they can get one of those. And if they do, I think they're in great shape. I think 2-2 is critical here.
Well, if they're, and again, take it all, the tournament is where it's going to be. But if they are a Final Four type team, they will get 2-2. They will find a way to win one of those games. And so, but great challenges. And I tell you what, I will be fascinated to watch the SEC in the tournament. Because they're having all these games, does that make them tournament tough? Right. Will the SEC do better than we even expect? Will they get 11 or 12 teams in? So a lot of questions still to remain answered. But the season's moving along pretty quick.
2 or 3 other thoughts as far as how the SEC will do. And I think you and I have had this talk. I know I've talked about it on my radio show. That mid-'80s Big East, have we talked about that on the podcast?
Yeah. Villanova,
Georgetown, St. John's, UConn, Seton Hall, Providence. They were all top 15 teams. And there were 7 or 8 of them, and they all went in that tournament and did really well. And so because they beat each other up for the whole season, and then when they got in the tournament, it was hard for people. I remember it was in 1988 where 3 of the 4 teams were from the Big East. So I think this is like that. I really do. We're recording this on Wednesday this week, so I watched Tennessee, Kentucky last night. That was a heck of a game. And Kentucky went in there and beat them without 2 of their best players. So anybody can beat anybody. I mean, can you believe as good as Tennessee and Kentucky are? We saw them early in the season. They're 4-3. Those 2 teams, Dan, are 4. They're 4-3 in the league. That's how good the league is. Tennessee, which looked unbeatable, undefeated and ranked number 1 when they went into league play, they're 4-3.
Yeah.
So it's a really good league. The other thing I noticed by being down there on Saturday, boy, oh boy, Florida's a physical team. They're a little bit chippy. Something happened before the game or early in the game between Georgia and Elijah Martin. I don't know what it was. But I was probably about 3 or 4 rows. I was in the corner about 3 rows up. So I was almost I was almost on the Georgia bench right there. And I'm telling you, he was jawing with the Georgia bench, and they were jawing back. And he went for 17 in the first half.
Yeah.
Elijah Martin, when he is a physical, he's a football player, man.
He is a football player.
A football player on the basketball court. And by the way, if he was a football player, he'd have about 3 hits a game that were borderline targeting. He'd be that physical, man. He's Lawrence Wright on the dang basketball court.
Yeah.
And he's a tough guy but those 3 guards, I can't imagine. I don't watch everybody. I can't imagine anybody else in the country has got 3 guards like that. And you're right about Aberdeen. He's a close 4th.
I like him.
But 3 guards that are all seniors, that are all 22, 23 years old, that have all seen it all, that have all played at 2 different schools, that are all built and physical and have those big bodies, can all three really shoot it, Dan? Can, Richard and Martin can really defend. Clayton's an okay defender. But to have three guys that are that good, I can't imagine anybody else has something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been like I said, I'm just enjoying the ride, man. I like watching this basketball team play, and I'm excited to see what they can do. I still love, go win the SEC, win the tournament, have something that you have earned as a team that you can remember this team by, because it has a chance to be special.
Yeah. All right. You want to get to football for a second?
Yeah, let's do quick football.
Thought about football. Billy Napier recently has hired Vinny Sinceri.
Yes.
32-year-old safeties co-defensive coordinator. You got to trust your coach. Billy's done an awful lot to rebuild that thing. All of a sudden, there's momentum. They've won 4 in a row. That's the longest winning streak in the SEC going into the season. He's found his quarterback who looks like he might be special. I think Florida's physical and athletic defensively in their receiver spots and a great running back room.
I think I'm going to hear a butt.
Yeah, but a butt's coming. And listen, he knows coaches. Media guys act like they know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Coaches know coaches. And for me to act like I know who's a good coach better than he does is stupid. I'm not going to say that. But Will Muschamp wanted that job. Okay. Will Muschamp's a heck of a defensive coach. Joe Cullen, the defensive line coach for the Chiefs, who I know well, turned down $2.5 last year from Michigan to be their coordinator because he was worried Sharon Moore might not last. He just didn't have a good feel. He stayed with the Chiefs, and then they hired Wink Martindale. They hired Wink when Joe turned it down. Ryan Day, who just lost his coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Penn State, called Joe Cullen 3 days in a row to try and get him to take that job. He's a really, Joe, he's a really respected coach who's going to be a coordinator somewhere next year. He really wanted the Florida job. He pushed for it, and for whatever reason, Billy went with this younger guy. Now, look, Sinceri might be a terrific young coach, but I think Billy's pattern, and I'm not criticizing him for it, I'm just puzzled a little bit by it. Why not go out and get a veteran like that? He likes to hire young guys, whether it's Ryan O'Hara or Patrick Toney or whoever, young guys that he will be their mentor, and they're up and coming. Now, look, Billy Gonzalez isn't a young guy. Ron Roberts isn't a young guy. So I'm not saying every coach, but I would have loved to have seen him go get a Muschamp or a Cullen or a more veteran guy to run his defense. Yeah, and again, he knows more than I do. This isn't a criticism. It's just I'm a little puzzled by it. You have a thought on that?
I do. Billy Napier does everything, it seems, that is not what the fans want. Or, you know what I mean? It just every decision he makes seems to go against what we all think should happen. It's very fascinating to me how he does these things. So that's a perfect example with the defensive coordinator. It just seems like he flies in the face and he's going to do it his way, and he's going to sink or swim his way. And it will be like, I'll give you an example. No OC, right?
Right.
Why not get an OC? Why not take some off your plate? The Florida offense wasn't good enough last year. Well, yes and no. It wasn't good enough last year. It was 11th, I think, in the conference, Frank. But you have to factor in who played quarterback there for a couple games. You have to factor in that he played 3 quarterbacks. You have to factor in even when Lagway was playing and winning, he was hurt. So as far as statistically, you're not going to have the kind of results that you probably think you would have. I think he thinks, I found my guy. I got a rhythm. I don't want to change it with him. He's comfortable with me. Right. We're on the same page. So I'm going to keep it rolling, and I'm going to give more to some of my young guys to help me with this offense. So he just transfer portal. We got to hit that transfer portal hard, Frank. We got to be a top 5 in the transfer portal. He's like 90th. I mean, he just does it his way. And this year, I think will do a lot to tell us if his way is the right way.
That kind of takes his time, and I understand that. And the offensive coordinator thing, I'll tell you this about offensive coordinator. I never believed he was going to hire one, and where because that would be massive change.
Right,
we would have to learn new terminology, a new system, a new cadence in his speaker, in his helmet.
Right.
I whether I agree or not, I got that. I never thought he was bringing in an offensive guy. He believes part of his identity is calling those plays, and so I got beyond offensive coordinator long ago, if that makes sense. I was well beyond that. So the offensive part. But the defensive coordinator, he lost his guy. Even though people think Ron Roberts called the plays, he probably did, and Austin Armstrong didn't. He still had an open position there. He had to hire a guy there. He doesn't pay a lot of attention to the defense. That's not his thing. So why not go get a veteran guy? So on the offensive side, I'm not surprised. I never thought he was bringing in a coordinator. Even when we heard all the boosters wanted him to, and he kind of had agreed to all this stuff, I never believed all that. I never bought it. But defense, I thought he would go get a veteran guy. So we'll see. Maybe Vinny Sinceri is a very good coach, by the way. I'm not knocking him.
Right.
And Billy knows more than I know about this stuff. Believe me, I know that. But that one I would have loved to see. Can you imagine Will Muschamp running up and down that sideline or Joe Kohler, one of these veteran guys?
Sure.
And so, but we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Having said all that, they've got great momentum in the program. I'm like you. I would like to see in the second portal, the May portal, the spring portal. I still would like to see a handful more players. Remember, they got Badger in that May portal last year.
Right.
I'd love to see a couple defensive linemen, maybe one more receiver. But I'm like you. I'm surprised he didn't do more in the portal.
Yeah. So, like I said, but with all that said, I'm as revved up in January about Gator football as I've been in any January in the last decade. So that's the good news.
And me too. And he deserves credit for that, Dan.
Yes.
Because we're all that way right now.
Yeah. We all fired him.
Yeah. Right.
After Miami and really after Texas A&M. And it was just, there was no way he could survive. It's one of the great, and honestly, it's one of the great Houdini acts in the history of college football, in my opinion. The fact that and again, I'm not getting carried away with what they accomplished, et cetera, but I know what DJ Lagway's capable of. Man, I can't wait.
Me too. You know what? He's got all of us jacked up, and he deserves that. And I will tell you this. When you're not Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia, which they're not right now. They've been, but they're not today.
Right.
You're not that. You need to pluck a few of those 5 stars. You need to pluck a DJ Lagway and a Dallas Wilson. But if you can, you're not going to get them all. Those schools are getting more than you're going to get.
Frank, sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you this one question right here today. Okay. All right. Just, do you think Florida has a legitimate chance to beat Georgia this year?
Yes.
So do I.
I do.
Have you thought that at all in the last 5 years?
Nope, I haven't.
Even when Mullen beat them and upset them, I didn't think they were going to win. I mean, yeah, I think Florida has a legitimate shot and could go toe-to-toe with Georgia this year.
I do too, and 100% agree. And the point I was making is, you got to get some of those 5 stars. You're not going to get many, but to really get good, you got to go find Jaden Baugh, who was a 3-star, a 5-star talent, and and the recruiting services don't get it wrong very often, but they got it wrong.
Right.
You know, he's done a good job of both. So I'm with you. I'm very excited about it. I said this earlier. I wish they had Pyburn and Cersei. I don't care about the other 12 guys that left.
Right.
2 guys that left that I wish I could blink in their back would be Pyburn and Cersei, because in addition to all the other stuff they have on that defensive side of the ball, they got a chance to be really good over there. No, I'm with you. I'm excited about it. Real quick, softball's ranked 1st. Baseball's ranked 7th. You ready for spring sports, or am I too early for you? Am I too early?
I'm ready, baby. No, I'm ready. I'm listen, the growth of college baseball in terms of popularity has been tremendous. The programs, the money that they've put into the programs is tremendous. It's a great place for a young man to go spend 3-4 years and really get professionally ready now. It's terrific. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'll be watching.
And I'll give him credit. He recruited so well. He had kind of been the Clemson, Alabama of baseball. He didn't need portal guys.
Yeah.
Finally looked up. Remember, he got the pitcher from Southern Miss a couple years ago. We got a couple guys. All of a sudden, he said, "You know what? This portal thing's pretty good."
Yeah.
They got about 7 or 8 offensive players last year that will pretty much dominate their lineup. You know, Ty Evans is back, and Shelton's back, and Donay's back, and Heyman's back. But for the most part, their lineup's going to be a bunch of new guys.
Right.
He went and got.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it too. So good times in Gator Athletics, Danny Boy. I'm like you. I'm confident about football. Big 4-game stretch for this basketball team.
Yes.
No question about it. That's all things Gators. Dan Hicken and Frank Frangie.
Thank you, Frank. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com. All right, Frankie. See you, bud.
See you.